Hello and welcome to our boys volleyball preview show on KLCS. My name is Randy Rosenblum. For the next hour, we will discuss the teams and the leagues in the Los Angeles Unified School District. We'll also look at the top individual players who will make this boys volleyball season a very special one. Last year, the Granada Hills Highlanders captured another city title for legendary coach Tom Harp. Already this year, Harp led the girls team to the crown. Can he double up with the boys? One thing is certain, boys volleyball in this city section will be exciting and very well played. And to help us sort out the 2010 season, let's meet our distinguished panel of coaches. We start with Will Reinhardt of Verdugo Hills. You got the throwback red sweater on from your Dons days.
That's right, rocking the old school, the throwback varsity letter jersey. So, we're excited about this season. It's going to be a fantastic season for volleyball, and I know the new division set up. Tons of dynamic volleyball ready to play some awesome players.
Looks like you haven't shaved since you graduated either, huh?
I don't. What do you think? Even a caveman could do it? What do you think?
Abraham Lincoln here. And we have Chris Forrest as well from Palisades. Chris, welcome back.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me again. Like I was saying earlier, hopefully I have more to add to this conversation today.
Well, you'll get some more words in. I mean, we'll stop Will. And then we have Elias Gomez from Elizabeth. Always a factor in volleyball with Elias Gomez as the head coach of the Bulldogs.
Well, thank you. I'm very pleased to be here again and looking forward to another great season at Elizabeth and a great season for volleyball in all three divisions.
In fact, in all three divisions, these guys could be represented in the championships back when we get there, and we'll cover that a little bit later in the program. All right, let's talk about the first league, which is the West Valley, and it's a very strong league. Birmingham, Chatsworth is always dangerous. Cleveland, well coached. El Camino Real, I know Doug Coleman feels he's got a great team. Granada Hills, Tom Harp's team, the defending champion. Armand Mercado is a staple for high school volleyball in the city section. And the Toreadors are loaded. So, Will Reinhardt, when we talk about this league, we'll start with Birmingham. We might as well go alphabetically here. Birmingham's a solid team and a very powerful league.
Yeah, Birmingham is. But what I'll tell you is that as I spoke to the coaches, Birmingham was not the school that came to the front when they were discussing. Anthony Thomas is a terrific coach, but he's graduated some talent, and they don't really figure Birmingham to be at the top of the league this year. So really the discussion came around the other five teams, and the West Valley is still the gold standard for us.
Marvin Hall is noted for being a great official on the beach in volleyball, but he's also the head coach at Chatsworth. Danson Marvin Hall, what's he got for the Chancellors?
He brings so much experience and enthusiasm, and like I said, Danson Marvin Hall, he knows the game. He's been around at the highest levels, and just since last year, I've seen huge improvement in the winter leagues. We have to face him this year, and I tell you, our guys know we're in for it because the Chancellors are going to be back this season.
Jeff Laidlaw gets the job done at Cleveland. We've seen Cleveland get to invitational finals and come close a lot of times. Laidlaw does a good job with both the girls and the boys.
Yeah, and Laidlaw, he's an intense guy. I've faced him many times in the playoffs and have had some preseason matches. He's a guy who really gets his guys to commit. I think he likes coaching the guys best. And so, again, I heard from all the West Valley coaches, watch out for Cleveland. Because even though it's been Granada tapped, El Camino a couple of years ago, Cleveland could surprise some teams. So I think, unlike Birmingham, Cleveland could be up towards that top of the West Valley.
Let's talk about ECR. They're a team that a couple years ago made it to the championship match, lost to Chris Forrest's team at Palisades, and in a match that could have gone either way. It was 5 grueling games, and Doug Coleman's team had a chance, and they have a twins combination coming back that is very good.
Yeah, so we've got Mike and Chris Dubois, and those two guys, they're 6'5", 6'6". They're going to be the ones who I think present the biggest challenge, probably for Taft, who I have picked as winning the West Valley this year. And those Dubois brothers, there's Chris, you can see right there. There's Mike. They're just huge factors, both literally and figuratively, for the Conquistadors. So when you talk to Doug Coleman, he's very optimistic about his program, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind a rematch with Chris Forrest and the dreaded Dolphins of Palisades.
All right, you're already getting those adjectives in there. Let's talk about Granada Hills, Tom Harp's team, defending champions. They did graduate a lot of players, but again, you hear their expression, they never, rebuild. They've always reloaded, and I'm sure Tom Harp will have his guys ready to go.
Right, and so he started me off by talking about Philip Polakowski. And so Polakowski was an all-city middle last year. He's moving to the outside. They have a lot of graduation. John Benheim graduated from last year's
City Player of the Year.
City Player of the Year. They did win the title last year, upsetting Sylmar in an exciting finals matchup. but he's got a lot of young guys. Keep in mind, though, Randy, his JV also won city. And as you mentioned, they tend to reload rather than rebuild at Granada. So Taft, I think, is the favorite. You got to look at El Camino Granada and, you know, Chancellors, possibly Chatsworth being in there.
All right, the team you like is the Taft Toreadors. We've already documented Armand Mercado. He won the Division II Girls Championship with Taft. So I mentioned at the top of the program, Harp's going for a double-double. Well, so is Armand Mercado in a sense. He'll play D1 volleyball with this group, and he's got a guy by the name of Scott Sanderson, who is huge and talented.
Right, and so Scott, I want to say he's 6'8". I mean, we've played against him several times now. He's a beast. He's a big guy. His problem in the past has been his speed, but he's picked up on that. And so now you see the Toreadors running that middle without fear. They've also got a dynamic outside hitter, a guy named Kenny Molar. So all respect to the Kenny over at Palisades. I have a feeling those Toreadors are going to be heard from, and potential city players of the year in Sanders and also Kenny Molar.
Izu Chukwu is that Kenny over at Palisades. And speaking of that Kenny, we're going to get to the Western League. Chris Forrest at Palisades will assist here. Here are the schools. Fairfax, which is better, they've improved. They got a young man by the name of Justin Cobb that's very good. Hamilton, Los Angeles, CES. There's Chris's Dolphins, always a force. 11 city championships for the Dolphins. University, Venice, and Westchester, which has some gifted athletic prowess as well. I don't want to overlook Venice because that's a program that's very, very good. All right, Chris, we'll start with Fairfax. I know you like Justin Cobb, the hitter.
Justin Cobb is a good outside hitter. I'm looking to him. I think last year was his first year. This year I'm looking for him to hit more line as well as angle because he was pretty much hammering the angle every time. Pretty easy to pick up on, but I think he's improved. And they also have an opposite named Press Suthathorn, I think his name is. He's a lefty opposite who always does a good job. And yeah, I'm looking at them to be, you know, at least the third spot. You know, I think Venice and Palisades are going to be battling it out for the first spot again. And then Fairfax should be in there for the third spot.
Let's talk about Venice because they are the defending league champions. We talk so much about your program, and with good reason. My goodness, you have all those championships, and you've had a stellar career for a guy that looks like he's about 18 years old and has only been there a couple of years. And congratulations, by the way, on your first son. That's great news.
Thank you.
So let's talk about Venice because Alan Hunt does a wonderful job, and he did defeat you during the league season last year.
He did. You know, last year both matchups, one of the first times we met, or excuse me, the first time we met was after we had a professional development day. So we had 2 days of no practice, and then we had to go in there and play them at their house. And it was after a long tournament that we were in, and they ended up sweeping us 3-0. And Kenny Izuchukwu, actually, he was out pretty much the first half of the season, and that was his first game back. But, you know, not to make excuses, Alan always does a great job with his team. I don't know all his players by name right now, but no matter what, they're always going to come in, they're going to play. They're going to pass the ball well. They're going to play phenomenal defense. They're going to serve wherever our weaknesses are. And, you know, and Alan Hunt's going to pick apart my offense and basically put a block up on us. So I don't expect anything easy from him, if not maybe even a loss. I don't know, because they're always strong.
He really likes Connor Gill, who was an all-city player for him last year. All right, let's talk about your Dolphins. We have Izu Chukwu, Kenny baby. He's about 6 feet, 6'1". I've seen him play. He can jump out of the gym.
Right. Well, the funniest thing is when we measured verticals last year, we had everything set up to 11 feet, and all the guys were touching 10.5, 10.6. Kenny comes in, and he went above the 11-foot mark, so we had to raise it for him. And he actually has a 43-inch vertical, but he's actually one of the top recruits in the country. UCLA wants him. USC talks about him. Bill Ferguson is a friend of mine because he's a Pali grad. And he wants to go to probably NYU and even Harvard because Harvard wants him too. So he's getting recruited all over the place, and we're basically going to be forming the offense and defense around him.
When I look at this league, this Western League, University's had some players before, but Westchester, I know athletically, we know how great their basketball team has been in recent years and over the years. They have volleyball players at Westchester, so they could do some damage here.
They usually have, like Will was saying before, they usually have one guy that comes out and can hit, you know, the crud out of the ball. And they do have this middle blocker who plays club, and I look for him to be a force in the middle over there.
All right, anyone else in that league? Is it Palisades and of course Venice? Who wins the league?
Well, you know, who wins the league? Well, hopefully it's Palisades. But it's going to be a battle between Venice and Palisades, I think. And look for Hamilton to move up in the charts, too, because they have a new coach in there. His name's Jesse. Forgive me for not remembering his last name. But he brings a lot of energy to the team, and he's a smart kid. You know, there was a time where I think he played 1 year at UCLA, and so he's pretty sneaky with what he does with the offense and defense.
Yeah, Hamilton will be an interesting team to watch because they had quite a bit of talent and quite a bit of success last year. So it'll be curious to see how they rebound, having graduated some players.
Eric Dates, yeah.
Dates went off, I think back east and
Ohio
Midwest.
State.
So that's going to be a curious team. How do they rebound, and where do they fit with the Westchesters and Fairfaxes for the middle of the pack, upper echelon?
Yeah,
You can't take them for granted either because they will surprise you. They have a very good team. They will be strong this year.
But it should be a great race with Pali and Venice in the Western League. Let's move ahead, talk about the Eastern League. That last voice you heard was from Elias Gomez. He's going to chime in here again with Bell, Garfield, Huntington Park, L.A. Jordan. And I'm hearing good things about Jordan, that this could be a year for the Bulldogs. Roosevelt, who won the Eastern League last year, Southeast and Southgate. Elias will start with Huntington Park. I know that's one of the programs that's been in the middle, but how are they going to do this year, the Spartans?
Well, Huntington Park is coming off of rebuilding from last year. They rebuilt last year, so they're going to be a strong team this year. They're senior loaded. Most of the players are seniors. They have Antonio Castillo, a junior setter, but their outside hitters, Alexis Mallorquin and Fernando Murillo, they're the ones who are going to be leading the charge for this team. Once again, they're all seniors, so this might be the year for them to pull it off. It's going to be tough. There we see Antonio Castillo, their setter. He's a junior, so he's the one who's going to be leading this team. Coach Patino always has a great defense. They're always ready to play. You cannot take this team for granted. They're very scrappy is probably the best word for the Huntington Park team. They're always good players, highly motivated. The coach keeps them in shape, and they're just all around a great defensive team.
And it looks like he's got some depth there.
He's got a big team this year, so he always has large teams, and he has players who, if one player's not doing well, he has someone else off the bench to recover and play well. But the team I think that's going to do very well is Jordan. They're Bulldogs, and I kind of favor the Bulldogs. They're pretty good. They have one player, Devon Jarman, 6'6", senior, middle blocker. He's going to be incredible. He's going to be hard to stop, very athletic. He can hit the ball straight down. They have another hitter, Jose Saldana, 6'1", junior, outside. He's very consistent. He's the go-to guy. They need a point. He's the one to go. He can tool. He can hit line. So he's going to be very good. Their setter is Carlos Manzo, junior. It's going to be his first year on the varsity. He's doing well, but that might be their weak spot. And their defensive player, Julio Munguia, is the one who's going to pick up all the hits. So
what about Roosevelt, though? You mentioned you like Jordan, but Roosevelt is the defending kingpins of this league.
Roosevelt came in first. Bell came in second. They both lost a lot of players. You can't count Eddie Parra out at Roosevelt. He always has something up his sleeve. That East LA attitude we always talk about. They're going to be a strong team. You can't count them out. They're always nice and quiet, but at the end they make a lot of noise. Southeast is another team who might be able to pull it off this year. Maybe not first, but they're going to have a serious run for second, third. They're led by David Godoy and Carlos Salcido. That's their offensive weapons, setter and hitter. And Carlos is really quick, and he's a tall setter, so he can block. So they will put up a second block. And Jesus Casares is their libero, who's going to be picking up all the hits. So hopefully they'll be strong too. But this is going to be a tough league. I'm pulling for the Bulldogs. I think they're going to be strong. Coach Leland has a great team out there.
Eli likes L.A. Jordan in the Eastern League. Will assist as we go back into the San Fernando Valley with the Valley Mission League. Here are the schools that make up that league. Kennedy, Monroe, Panorama, Reseda, San Fernando. Down on that bottom there's Silmar, which was the #1 seed overall last year, went to the finals and lost to Granada Hills. And, of course, they had Tyler Honeycutt as one of their star volleyball players last year, and he's now performing for UCLA's basketball team and is performing well. And, well, let's, I guess, start with Silmar. You know, Bob Thompson historically has a powerhouse there, got him to the finals, a little bit disappointed with the finish and losing to Harpsgang, but Silmar, would I imagine, even with the loss of some of their stars, always going to be pretty good.
Silmar will still be the class of that league. They did, as you mentioned, lose quite a bit of talent on the all-city teams, and now at UCLA at Tyler Honeycutt. They do have some returning talent right now, and as we're looking at some of these guys, Avalos moving up from the junior varsity, he's going to be somebody who will be leading their team in the defensive specialist position. They schedule tough. They see Edwin Burgos there, a former player of mine actually. They schedule tough. They prepare to be good at the end of the season, and that's kind of been the MO that Soheil has used over the years. And so Although I do believe they'll start out slow, I can't imagine them being able to take the preseason game away from Pally. But I do think that by the end of the season, they will be one of those 8 teams to be reckoned with, even though they've lost so much talent.
Is that because of Bob Thompson and his staff's knowledge of high school volleyball and the commitment to volleyball?
Yeah, absolutely. It's great. Last shot there is Stuart Cohen. They've had talent, too. Let's not pretend they don't have players. But, yeah, their coaching staff, I mean, with Bob Thompson, we're talking, the sort of dean of LA City coaches, he and Tom Harp. And so Mashoud, who coaches the day-to-day operations of the boys team, 11th season. And, they know that they have a weaker league, but they go out and they play the best tournaments. They go out and they play the best competition preseason. And so that's, I think, what makes up for the fact that they're a little soft on their league schedule.
Who's the best of the rest here? Where do we go?
I like Daniel Nishi. He's always put together a good program. Reseda has had one of those sorts of programs, I think, a little bit like Westchester, where they somehow find a player or two who stands out. They don't have the depth, and so they're not usually able to contend. But they will probably be second place. And the other good team out there has been Ty Ratanafon's team over at Kennedy. And so the Cougars, they'll duke it out with Reseda. Should be interesting. Monroe, I don't think we'll hear much from those guys.
Let me throw in San Fernando, because I always think of Sylmar, I think of San Fernando, a wonderful San Fernando Valley rivalry in all sports, and we keep talking about Sylmar. Why is San Fernando's boys volleyball team lagging behind a Sylmar?
I don't know. I think maybe it's an attitude on the campus that volleyball is not as important to them as maybe their softball team or their soccer team or their basketball team.
Because they're good in all those sports.
Manny does a good job. I mean, I don't see the top athletes coming out to his program. I mean, their basketball team was good this year, so I know they got to have height, they got to have talent, athletic ability, but so far it hasn't worked out to their boys program. The girls program has been solid. The boys program has been lagging a little bit.
And Panorama is the last team in the league.
Yeah, I just don't see. I think they're the Pythons.
They are the Pythons.
I think they're going to get the ones who get squeezed on this deal. They have a young coach. They don't have a lot of experience. So they're going to be getting a lot of good life lessons and a lot of good lessons on the court from Sylmar.
So it's Sylmar by far.
Yeah.
And you think they can get to the Final 8 despite the losses?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know that the Division I we have this year is loaded. But those guys, they find a way, and so I believe you'll see them in the top 8, probably 7 or 8, not like last year where they were number 1.
Okay. When we come back, we're going to talk about Marine League, the boys volleyball, good league. We're talking volleyball on KLCS. Welcome back to our volleyball preview show on KLCS. My name is Randy Rosenblum. We're going to go back and talk a little bit about the Marine League now. This is a league that was dominated a year ago by the Carson Colts. They went 12-0, in fact. Banning, Carson, there they are, the defending champions. Gardena, a very strong King Drew team that actually won the Invitational Championship last year. Narbonne is very solid. San Pedro has always had good teams. And Washington. Chris, you'll help us here. Let's start with Carson. They're the defending champions. Are the Colts, again, the team to beat?
We were fortunate enough to play Carson on Wednesday, and I'll tell you right now that there are a bunch of guys that aren't very tall that are just well-trained hitters. Nothing hit the floor on their side of the court. They played great defense. They passed the ball well almost every single time. And I know they're going to give anybody a hard time that they play against. Christy North, the coach at Carson, seems to think that between them and Narbonne, it's going to be a fight for the first place. But she also said, just like you said, we can't discount King Drew because they're going to be in the mix for sure.
I know as a coach, and you talk like a coach, which is a good thing because that's who you are, you sound like you really appreciate what Carson does and how they dig the volleyball.
I appreciate any team that has good ball control. And when it's taught or they learn well, whether they're taught well or they learn well or both or they're well coached, it's just something I appreciate. The game of volleyball it's an awesome sport. I've been around it for 24 years now as a player, as a coach, as a ref. And anytime I see it well played and I see a group of guys that play like that together, it's exciting and it's just fun to be. It was a really fun match to coach.
Yeah, but you won, right?
And it's always good to come up with a W, of course.
All right, let's discuss King Drew again. This is a team that lost in the first round. They got thrown back into the pool and played in the Invitational and won the Invitational title, and they have some players back.
Right. They have Devontae Lockett, who apparently is their setter and opposite, and so he's a double threat. He's not only does he set well and run the office, but he's also the opposite. He can hit the ball hard. Christy sent me some information on him saying, he's a smart playmaker, and they want to come out and prove that the Invitational wasn't a fluke.
Okay. Where else do we go in this league? Is it Banning? Is it Narbonne? Let's start with Banning. What do you think there?
Banning, not a clue.
That's honest.
Yeah, that is honest.
I'll get back to you. I'm playing Banning up this preseason, and I haven't heard much about it. When I talked to Christy, she wasn't, and I consider her opinion pretty important down there in the Marine League. Hadn't heard much about them, but they're an athletic school, so they can recruit players. It's just do they have the ability to put it together this season? I don't know.
And we know that Narbonne's historically pretty good.
Oh, always. Sophia, I'm pretty sure still going to, have a nice team this year. The question is San Pedro. San Pedro, historically they've been a team that can push, and this year it seems like maybe they're down a little bit.
So is this an opening for King Drew to win the Marine League?
It possibly could be. Like we were talking about Narbonne, I just wanted to throw out a name, Matt Limtiaco, who's the senior setter and opposite. Apparently he's a really smart player, and he's going to run his offense well, so you can't count them out. But King Drew, yeah, definitely has a shot. And San Pedro has 3 guys, just to give a shout-out. Eric Daniel, the senior outside hitter. Carlos Gonzalez is a junior, who's their setter. And then Nasser El-Rawi, who's the senior middle blocker. And then they also wanted to give a shout-out to Matt Amalfitano, who apparently when the picture was ran, he wasn't in there because he was still playing soccer in the playoffs. But he's a setter as well.
Okay, those are some of the teams to look for. So it's wide open in the Marine League. Again, Carson was a perfect 12-0 a year ago, but it probably won't go like that this year. More competitive, balanced league in the Marine League. Let's move ahead and talk about the Northern. This is the Northern League, and we talk about good competition here, and this had great competition last year. In fact, 2 teams tied for first, Eagle Rock and Marshall. There's Belmont, Eagle Rock, who will be strong again and a threat in Division II, Franklin, Lincoln, Marshall, and, of course, L.A. Wilson. Eli helps us here. Let's start with Eagle Rock. They're one of the defending champions. Will the Eagles be flying high yet again?
Eagle Rock is favored to win this league. They played Marshall last year, and they won on points, so they got into the tournament as a higher seed. But Eagle Rock is always good. They have scrappy players. They can play some defense, and they have some height. Not too much, but they're good hitters. They tool, they hit line, they hit short middle. They're very good players in that sense. So they have to play their best. They don't have the height again, but they're really good. They're led by Daniel Cruz and Anthony Barahona on the outside. Either one of these guys could be a league MVP. Herson Kanta is their setter, and he does a great job feeding these 2 guys. And Nafat Suvaroporn is their libero. He's the one who's going to be playing defense for them. Any one of these 4 guys could be the league MVP. Marshall, they're a good team. I have their whole lineup. They look pretty good. There are many juniors on this team. Terrence Bautista, junior, left-handed setter, is probably another one who could be league MVP. He's really good. He can block. He can set. He gives you that left-hand dump that can help any team, any setter score points.
And we should tell our audience that dumping in volleyball is a good thing.
Yes,
That's when the setter dumps it over and hits it over early and confuses the defense.
You're expecting a set, and he just sends it over. Being left-handed makes it a lot easier. Right-handed setters have slightly less strength with their left. But Jeff Montano is their libero, so he's going to be in charge of defense. He has 2 middle blockers, both juniors, and Joaquin Segurero and Steven Lagme. 2 outside hitters that are juniors, Josh Aguilar and Jerry David. This is a young team. If they don't take first solid this year, they're going to be really tough to beat next year. And their opposite, Angelo Marisigan, he's a senior. He's really good also. He can block on the right side, so he's going to be a good attacker. Franklin is probably rebuilding this year. I don't know how well they're going to be. Wilson is moving up. They're joining tournaments. They're getting out there. They're playing other teams, so they're on their way to becoming much better. Lincoln and Belmont have struggled the past few years. Hopefully they'll be stronger this year.
So who wins it? Is it Marshall or Eagle Rock?
I think Eagle Rock's going to win it on experience, and Marshall's young. Marshall's going to learn plenty this year, but Marshall might be the team to beat next year.
I know you were taking notes already on Eagle Rock because you might have to face them in Division II.
Well, and with Eagle Rock, we saw them a lot in the off season in winter leagues. We had a chance to see them already in preseason, and they have a lot of character. That team isn't the biggest team in the world, but their outside hitters are dynamic. Cruz turned an ankle in Game 2, was out a couple games, came back in Game 4 and had the game-winning kill against us. And I know that those guys are passionate about it. They've committed full, and I can't imagine the Barristers having a chance against them. That's how I'm feeling. No.
And I know you express your feelings.
The Eagles will be there at the end, and I hope we're there to meet them again because I'd like to get a little payback.
Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing is going to be the second game. They're going to learn plenty against them the first time. The second time, I think Marshall's going to pick it up. They're going to play. But again, Eagle Rock plays smart. They go around the block. They tool the block. they get those points and they make your defense pick it up. Because if your defense starts to lag, you're going to lose.
Yeah, and Tim Bergeron, I mean, I think he's got it in his head that this is his year with the Division II being out there, a chance for him to restore Eagle Rock back to city championship status.
All right, let's go back into the San Fernando Valley and talk about the status of the East Valley League. Here are the teams that work out of the East Valley League. Arleta, Canoga Park, Grant. I'm hearing good things about the Huskies at North Hollywood. Got a young coach there, and he is committed. Polytechnic, Van Nuys, who's always a power, as is Will's Verdugo Hills Don. So let's start with Van Nuys. They're the reigning champions. The Wolves every year in boys and girls volleyball are tough. Where are the Wolves?
Well, I think the Wolves will be back on top of the pack. No pun intended, but
but it's a good pun.
Anyway, but I mean, look, Dave Che has got a lot of talent as a coach. He has good players this year. As we look at them, we're going to be seeing too much of these Wolves, I think, over at Verdugo this year because they have a tremendous amount of talent. Jacob Johnson, their setter, is awesome. Deshaun Green has a great vertical leap, 6'2", 6'3" he goes. There's Jacob Johnson, who is a fantastic setter. And the Hadawar brother, you may remember Holland Hana Hadawar from glory days at Van Nuys. And Stephen Hadawar, who's on that team, figures to be one of their absolute best offensive threats. So as we prepare for the Wolves, we know that they're going to be coming hardest. De La Rosa is an awesome passer, Robin De La Rosa. They have seniors. There's Stephen Hadawar. He's going to be a senior this year. And they have a great tradition over there. They've been able to really put together exceptional defense. I know that's something that Chris would appreciate. They're not always the biggest team in the world, but they are well coached. They are tenacious on defense, and they are quick on offense. They execute well. So if you're not ready to play, they will take it to you every time.
Sounds like the Verdugo Hills Dons, and I know Will's an outstanding coach, and we'd love to have him here. He voices his opinion. But I know you got a player who was great on the basketball team, by the name of Chris Dees, getting a lot of notoriety because he brought the basketball team to higher levels than it's been in many, many years. So Chris Dees is going to lead your volleyball team. Talk about Dees, talk about your club.
Yeah, much like Chris down at Palisades, we're going to center our offense on Chris. Chris Dees is 6'6", maybe a little bigger. And he's still growing into his body, and he's still figuring out the game. You see Chris right there. He's really a beast. He's a guy.
Is that a nice thing to say about one of your players?
Well, as a middle, you want a beast. C.J. Suarez, nice outside hitter for us, going to give Chris some help. But Chris will be the one taking it to the defenses of our opponents. And Chris's strength, I believe, is his versatility. He can play with good touch. He can pound the ball, and he's got a big block. So as things go for us, Phil Gonzalez, a two-sport star for us, a golfer, he's going to be the other middle. As things go for us, it's going to be based on how Chris Dees performs. And right now, he's still doing basketball playoffs. So I figure Verdugo to start slow. Unfortunately, we have to catch Van Nuys early in the season, and we'll see how that all plays out. But by the end of the season, if I'm doing my job well and the guys are as excited about it as I think they are, we're going to be in the mix for a City Division II championship. Right there with Westchester, Jordan, right there with Eagle Rock, and anyone else who wants to try and get there.
What is a little bit odd, I know you're fighting with Van Nuys to be the city champion in different divisions, but yet you're trying to beat them in the league. Van Nuys will go into Division I. Will's team goes into Division II. Don't you find that a little strange?
Yeah, it's an enrollment-based system. The state has set up these enrollments categories, and 2,400 and above is Division I, 2,400 to 1,250 is Division II. So for us, we are a smaller school, and they put us in by enrollment into Division II along with Eagle Rock, along with Union, Westchester, Bravo, and Jordan. So we don't have as many teams in our division. We'll have a little smaller playoff. But I guarantee you it'll be tenacious. And last year, having gone to the state Division II tournament, it was a wonderful experience for my team, and I think we want to build on it now. We're looking to go a little further and do a little bit better.
Let's talk about those Huskies at North Hollywood. Lance Walker is a committed coach, and I know you think he's going to get it done there.
Well, all the coaches in my league have been talking about Lance and the new attitude he's brought to North Hollywood, and I know you'll appreciate that being an alum. He's got experience as a player. He played at Pierce, played at Pepperdine, he played internationally, and now he's come back to his alma mater, and he's got a lot of pride for them. And so he's instilling the fundamentals, he's getting the passion, the excitement going for the program, and he's building victories. They're not the doormat anymore. They're the team to be reckoned with, and so you have to watch out for the Huskies.
Now, in girls volleyball for many years, the Grant Lancers have been a team that has been forceful and dangerous. Where's the boys' side when you think of Grant?
5 years ago, they were the dominant team in our league, and Coach Kahn, Coach Lee have left. They've gone on to Calabasas. And so now we see, a little bit of a revolving door at Grant. So as a result, they don't have the pipeline coming in. They neglected their JV program, and it's coming to roost now. So really, they're a middle or bottom of the pack team now. They have a couple of decent players, but it's not like they used to be every year dominating our league and every year, making a big splash in the city playoffs. Not this time.
All right, we have Canoga Park, Arleta, and Poly. Those three. How do you see those teams?
Well, in that grouping, Polytechnic is clearly the class of that group you just mentioned. I think Poly is going to give Van Nuys a run for its money. I hope we're able.
You really believe so? They're an upper echelon team.
Yeah, because they have a lot of talent that's coming back from last year, and maybe east side of LA is tough, but East Valley's tough too. And those guys, they represent the heart and soul of Sun Valley. So the Duran kids, they're tough. They're going to be, I think, 1, 2, or 3 in our league, absolutely. Canoga, not so much, and Arleta actually won't be fielding boys till next year.
Okay, so they're on the list, but they're not playing this year.
Right.
Okay. It's interesting. We give them a little extra pub, though.
Yeah.
Let's go Arleta. All right, we're going to move ahead and talk a little bit about the Southern League. Eli really knows his info here. He's got a lot of stats and stories for you with Bravo, who is going to be tremendous. They are talking up Bravo as a potential Division II championship team. Contreras, Elizabeth, which is Elias's team and historically is very good. Hollywood, Maywood, who's coming on in sports, Santee, and West Adams. Let's start with your Bulldogs at Elizabeth, and what's it look like for your squad?
Well, our Bulldog volleyball team is based on the Bulldog soccer team. They're in the final tonight, so we haven't been able to practice with those guys, but our guys that are still coming back are starting to practice, and we're getting there. Our team is going to be led by new guys. They're all coming around. We have Chris Gutierrez, who's going to lead with the defense, and Fernando Ordaz played middle last year. He had a great game in the final. He helped shut down the middle, and he did a great job. Alex Carrera is our other middle, who's doing a great job also. And Reyes Mendoza got injured, so we had to bring up Alex to help out. But our volleyball team is doing great. We have Francisco Solorio, a senior outside hitter, who's going to be our best hitter, and Raymond Gonzalez, first year varsity player. He's going to be our setter. He is the one that's going to be in charge of our offense. He's going to have to set outside, set the right side. So we're looking pretty good. And that's a picture of Raymond, and there's Francisco. And we have another player, Daniel Salazar, who is coming out. He's picking it up quickly. He's getting his hits in. He's going to be one of the biggest keys that we have at Elizabeth to come out on top of this tough Southern League. But the team to beat in this league, I mean, I hate to say it, and it's Bravo. Bravo's going to be the team to beat this year. 3-time winners of this league. They tied it the first year with us, and they won it hands down the past 2 years. They're a strong team. They have a great coach in Kalani Hubayan, and this is a team I could see in the D2 final against Will. I mean, Eagle Rock is tough, but this is a team that I think is going to make it to that final. They're very strong. They have Captain Jimmy Lowe, senior middle blocker, can play opposite. He's a great player. At middle, he goes around that block. He's just really good. Seema Kadura is the other middle blocker. He's the leader in blocks. So he puts up the block, and it's hard to get around him. He gives all the teams a big headache for that. Daniel Song is their other outside hitter, and he's the one who gets most of their kills. He's their producer of points, and they go to him. And they have 2 more captains, in Hector Moreno and John No. They're great players. They just make this team much stronger.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Hollywood, because the Sheiks are one of the schools that are more established. They've been around for a long time. Where are they in volleyball?
Hollywood's going to be led by Eduardo Juarez and Jaron Valdez. I don't think they're going to be too strong again this year. It's like one of those schools that doesn't get the stronger athletes. They go to baseball, and they're in track. The basketball players don't play for him either. So Manuel Alas, the coach, has a hard time there in recruiting his players. Another school we have is West Adams. West Adams is up and coming. Their coach is very excited. He's led by 3 sophomores, and Brian Sotelo, Jimmy Mejia, and Rene Hoya. Their coach thinks they can win this league. They came in 4th last year. It was their first time. They were tough, and they were freshmen. Now they're sophomores. He has height. He has hitters. So they're going to be good, too. The other team that we have is...
We have the picture there of West Adams. Getting back to West Adams, why the sudden improvement there?
Well, they were in the Freeway League at first, so they were really quiet there. Now they're in the Southern League, and they're getting more competition, so they're getting a lot better. Some of his players are playing club, so they're getting stronger. And their coach is really hyped up. He's really positive with them, and they're getting stronger all the time. They could upset Bravo at any time, Maywood at any time, ourselves at any time, but they don't have the experience, which the other three teams do, and that might be the turning point for them. They're very young. 2 years from now, they might be the team to beat, but right now, so far, it's Bravo. And Maywood is probably one of the biggest problems we have at Elizabeth, because the Maywood coach is the Elizabeth soccer coach, and he keeps taking them to the final, which is a good thing, but he prevents us from practicing. So he has a good team at Maywood. He has 4 returners in Arnold Conchas, Eric Castro, Cesar Peña, and Moises Gonzalez. All seniors. They're all going to have to pick up the slack. They have their eyes set on Bravo, and they have their eyes set on us, and they better keep an eye out for West Adams, because this league is going to be pretty strong.
Okay, but you like Bravo to win the league, or your Bulldogs?
I'm going to pick the Bulldogs, but we're going to have to get it over Bravo. Bravo is the team to beat in this league.
I know we're going to have a panel discussion a little bit later in the program, but I want to ask you, because you all got the same issue. You're losing players to other sports, which is a good thing, and you have to wait till their other sport ends. How difficult is it to form the team, build that chemistry, when some of your key guys are playing somewhere else early in the season and you're losing those quality repetitions?
I mean, well, for me, it's been very difficult, especially because for my particular situation, it's the cornerstone of my team. And so going through the practices, first of all, not having gym time, and then secondly, not having the guys you need, we're treading water to a great degree. And I was really proud of the way my guys have held up so far. But honestly, we're a different team when we have Chris Dees in the lineup. Now, for these other programs, I think it's got to be the same way. If you have key guys missing, it's hard to build momentum. It's hard to get it together.
That's got to be frustrating.
Well, the problem is some schools whose coaching is just okay in volleyball, they get their players late. They're not going to succeed. You know, we've been coaching for 11 years now. We have to put it in fast mode. We throw them in the microwave, warm them up quickly because we have no time. We have 2 months exactly. Soccer ends. Well, hopefully it doesn't end. They win today. They go regionals. We play this next week. We don't have our players. Our setter is on the soccer team. Our outside hitter's on the soccer team. Our
Chris, are they all volleyball players with you, or you?
No, we actually have 2 or 3 basketball players, and our biggest deal is we don't give a fair amount of time in the gym, so we don't have the gym at all. And so we had 1 full week of practice, and then boom, you're right in your first match. And so it's really difficult to figure out who's even on JV or varsity, because you haven't seen any of your guys. You're outside running stairs, whatever, just until, that hour that you can't go beyond until the season starts. And then there's really nothing to do except condition. The day you're in there, it's an exciting day.
Yeah, and the frustrating part for Chris has got to be they're so far from the beach that they won't ever be able to find sand or a sand court. At Palisades it's tough because when you're shut out of the gym, there's just no other option.
There's nothing to do there. Yeah,
you couldn't go down to the sand and get
It's been raining. I mean, this is the rainy season, and you guys see it's Storm Watch 2010.
You cannot complain being at Palisades.
Yeah, tough breakdown.
Have you ever walked in cold sand with bare feet? I mean, I'm just kidding.
All right, we're going to get back to this group in a moment. We're going to take a break, step out, and come back and talk about the Coliseum League right after this. We are talking boys volleyball on KLCS. We're going to head into the Coliseum League, and we've gone through some of the powerful leagues. These next 3 leagues aren't quite as powerful, but they're improving dramatically in boys volleyball. Crenshaw, Dorsey, Fremont, Jefferson, Locke, and Manual Arts. Manual Arts is the defending champion. I'll leave it up to our entire panel to chime in on the Coliseum League and what's going on in the Coliseum League. And is it, again, Manual Arts?
I think so. I mean, based on what I've heard from the coaches at the coaches meeting, Manual Arts, which has been the class of that league the last 3-4 years, figures to be on top again. And they do have some weaknesses, but I think enough to hold off the others.
What's holding this league back? I mean, athletically, it's gifted. We see that in the other sports. Why are they lagging behind a little? And that's not to be derogatory on this one school at Manual Arts, because they've played some pretty good volleyball. But what's holding the rest of the league back?
The players, I guess. I mean, basketball, they have great basketball programs at those schools. And those
great
boys,
football programs.
And great football, and those boys just don't cross over to volleyball.
I don't think there's any interest in volleyball over there, to be honest.
How do you create that?
Well, I mean, like for instance, when Trent Cornelius was at Manual Arts, he really was pushing off-season volleyball, and so he got his girls to be part of this, off-season club. And so you need coaches who are willing to take it the extra step, because it's not part of the culture. I don't think the way it may be at Pacific Palisades or the way it may be at Taft. And these guys would play it regardless of who the coach was. Down there, I think you need a little extra attention from that coach, and get the crossover that Elias is talking about. They have the athletes. You know it, and I know it. They got the athletes. Just get them into the gym. They'll love the game.
Yeah, but there's been an alliance for many years with volleyball players and basketball players, and if this league is that good in basketball, and we see it in a lot of sports, why can't, and we see with Armand Mercado at Taft, he's getting basketball players all the time to come over and play on his volleyball team. Why can't they get their basketball players to play volleyball?
I think it's coaching also. They have great turnover on coaches. I don't think there's any coach in there that's been there 3 years, 4 years.
Right.
They don't have the coaches for it. I mean, coaches go from one school to another. Jefferson hasn't had the same coach for years.
And it depends on the relationship between the coach of the volleyball team and the coach of the basketball team if they'll share. Not only that, the greater the player is in a league like the Coliseum, the more chance he's going to want to focus just on basketball.
I'll mention Tyler Honeycutt, Sylmar last year, a great volleyball player.
Kind of the exception, not the rule, though.
You want to make that the rule, maybe in the Coliseum League. All right, let's move ahead to the Freeway League. Eli's got some info on the Freeway League with Bernstein, Fauché, Marlton Orthopedic, and USC Mast. The defending champions here is Fauché.
Fauché is going to be tough. They have William Pina, Anthony Garcia, and Johnny Castro. They're probably the favorite team here. They're also one of the favorites to win small school. They should make it to the final. They're going to be a strong team. Bernstein is an up-and-coming team with Kevin Flores and Christian Collado. He's a basketball crossover, so he's going to make it interesting. A team that wasn't on the list, though, is HP College Ready. They are joining the league this year. They have Ernesto Valles, 6'5", senior middle blocker, very good player. Victor Macias and Jaime Montes, who are going to be setting and doing the other outside hitting. These guys are hustlers. They play really hard. So USC and Orthopedic are rebuilding, but HP College Ready is going to be an interesting team to watch. But Fauché, with the experience, they should be coming out on top.
All right, and we also want to cover the Valley League. And again, these are a lot of schools that are new to volleyball on the boys' side. East Valley, Fulton College Prep, Northridge Academy. Ozzie Bidet does a terrific job there and historically is very good. Sherman Oaks CES. And we have Valley Alternative.
Yeah, whenever we talk about the Valley League, I always like to give a shout out to Mike Soto. Mike Soto has been the dean of that league, and he's been just a sensational representative for coaching and for the teams in general. So I know Valley Alt will give it their all, but Northridge has been the best team in that league now for some time. I'll be interested to hear what Elias has to say about that. And Fulton, Pavel over at Fulton has done a good job. So what do you think, Elias?
Well, I think Ozzie Bidet does a great job at Northridge. She is probably going to be, she's a big inspiration. She does the girls and the boys, and I guess the way to get the girls, to get the girls out there, the boys follow. That's how we did it at Elizabeth. The girls were there, the boys followed. So that's how we build our program there. But Northridge has a great team, and Mike Soto does a great job. He has less than 200 students, and he fields a good competitive team. So
not on his team. Not 200 students on the team. 200 students in the school.
In the school, less than 200
from.
students.
Right.
Less than 200. Yeah. So he has to draw from that, and that makes it really tough on him. And he does produce good teams. Sometimes those girls and boys, the boys come out on top. They give Ozzie at Northridge a run for their money. Fulton's going to be interesting to watch. Fulton's going to be good.
We know we have Will here and Chris and Elias, so they can talk. So we're going to come back and we're going to really put it to them. We're going to have some nice topics to discuss. Our panel discussion is next with the guys right after this. Well, we have our volleyball coaches warmed up, so we'll have some nice discussion time here for the next 10 minutes or so. Let's get into these divisions, 1, 2, and Division 3 is really small schools, and that's what we're calling it, small schools. Do you like the breakup? Because again, and we talked about this during the girls program, I like the overall city champion with one division. Now you've changed it. You have brackets. It's 1 and 2. I'll start with you, Chris, because I know you voiced disapproval with the 1 and 2, with the two different divisions in the upper divisions during the girls session. Have you cooled off on that? Have you changed your stance, or do you still dislike it?
Well, because I'm in D2, it'd make my life easier, actually, because I don't have to play Granada next year. But I know that Tom Harp from Granada Hills will agree with me that when you make two divisions and then there's two city champions, it really takes all the prestige away from being the city championship, just like you were saying. And he didn't like the idea. I didn't like the idea because I had won back-to-back, and now all of a sudden you're sharing a title with another school that may not be deserving or not. I mean, and you can't. There is a small discrepancy between Division 1 and Division 2 just by school size. But yeah, I kind of backed off on it a little bit.
Okay, so you like it a little bit better. Will, what are your thoughts?
I really don't have a choice, to be honest.
It created an interesting dynamic last year because what you ended up with was the West Valley #1, Granada, as the Division I city champion, and the West Valley number 3, Taft, as the Division II city champion. So if you're Birmingham and you beat Taft twice, and Taft's girls are rocking shirts that say city champs on it, and they're having parades for them, and they got trophies and whatnot.
Right down Ventura Boulevard, they had a parade?
Well, I don't know, but you beat them twice.
Right.
And yet they're city champions, and they're like, well, what'd Birmingham do? Well, Birmingham was probably the 3rd best team last year in Division I, maybe in the city. So it's a little frustrating from that standpoint. I mean, for us this year, I think we'll have a better chance of winning our city Division II championship at Verdugo than we would have winning our own league title, because I think Van Nuys is probably tougher than us. So it does create weird situations like that when you have leagues that are in different divisions.
Now, Elias, you're a little bit different here because you're in the small schools division, so life's pretty good for you. It really hasn't changed.
Well, for us, it hasn't changed. We're in a larger school, but we have D1, D2, and D3 in our league. West Adams is a D1, Bravo's Maywood D2, so it is tough. I do think the numbers are a little too wide. I think it should be lowered. 4,400. We have 4,400 max at some of our schools, and the line is at 2,400. I think that should be closer to 3,000. That brings more schools into D2 to make that a little more even, because all the teams basically are in D1. There's a couple of teams in 2, and there's even less in small school. But it does make it tough. We weren't league champions last year, but we were small school city champions. So it does have that discrepancy.
And they did that, I think, because with the boys' state regionals, it's lined up for that. You know, say we wanted to have the city section playoffs line up with the state regionals. In the girls, it was open, so you could have a different number. We came with 3,000 as the number for the girls' season.
With that in mind, how close is the city section to being competitive in the state tournament?
Oh, not yet, I don't think.
It's going to be tough. We went to the regionals last year, and we had a tough match. The level of play is big. There's a big discrepancy in the level of play.
Our guys walked into Mater Dei, and I think ESPNU had those guys ranked like 4th in the country at that point. We were just happy to be there, look at their beautiful gym. We were happy their guys didn't hurt us in any way. You know, I mean, we tried to play the best we could, but they're in a different caliber, elite status. And I don't think there are any city teams that are in that level.
Our experience was a trip back home for me. We played against Legion, where I graduated from. I got to see the new gym that I donated to, and the talent there is really good. But most of those guys play club. Yeah. They play club year-round, and my guys play volleyball for 2 months, and that's it. So there's a huge gap between the two.
Now, this doesn't affect Will because he has a big wallet. We're talking about economics here. You know, there's budget cuts. We all know it. We've all heard about it. Transportation's an issue in the city with buses. What does the cutbacks mean for boys volleyball?
I know that at my school in particular, being a charter school, and we've finally broken off from LAUSD, LAUSD actually told us that for the 2010-11 school year, we are not providing buses, so you will not get kids bussed in anymore. So they have to go out and find their own transportation to get to school. Now, for volleyball, boys and girls both, there's only 2 or 3 girls that actually get bussed in. But for the other sports, other than volleyball, it's going to be drastic because you're talking about football and basketball, where a lot of those, it's heavily weighted on kids that are brought in by bus. And for us, that's one thing that's cut.
Now, the stipends, you guys, you know, they're teachers. These coaches are teachers. They're paid to be teachers, but they get a stipend as coaches. Is that going to get cut back? That's what I'm hearing.
Well, you know, what I understood it to be was they're not going to cut back the actual stipend amount because that's a contractual issue with the union. But what they are going to do is cut back the number of stipends, and then I guess just let us sort of scramble for which stipends will go to which coaches at individual schools. And that's basically the way I understood them to explain it. But obviously, it's a bigger, broader issue. It's the overall budget. The state, the country is in this situation. And with athletics in general, you wonder, what's the future of athletics? Not just volleyball, but all of it. It's an extracurricular thing. Is the community going to support it? How's it going to get paid for?
But I look at Chris, and Chris is a volleyball coach. You want the stipend. It pays for an extra Christmas gift here or there. It's all, especially with the newborn. But I know that it's about coaching volleyball. You're getting a salary anyway. It's not about the stipend.
Right. I don't look to the stipend when I'm putting in 1,000+ hours per season. I'm not here for the money. I'm here to be around the sport. I like working with kids. I like seeing players or young students take volleyball into their lives and play it for the rest of their life. To me, that's payback. And when kids come back to me and say, "Yeah, I'm playing at UCLA now," and you know they played for me, that's a great feeling.
But you know, I mean, I think Chris and Elias and a handful of these other guys that are in the Coaches Association are the exceptions. I think he's an exceptional coach. And when we go back and forth talking about why isn't this school good or that school, and a certain matter, it does matter what they're paying these guys. And there are a lot of people who won't do it. He loves the game. He loves Palisades. He'll do it. He's a special
And
guy.
let's be candid, there's thinner margins for people now.
Yeah.
Even if it's an extra few $1,000s, that adds up. And in this day and age, people need the dollars. I want to move on to another topic, though, about this new ball that you're going to play with. I know the white ball is effective, but, and it may not happen this year, but you're going to use a colorful ball? It's like the old ABA basketball? What are you guys doing with this different ball?
They're doing that in college already, and so I think it'll maybe give some assistance to the officials to be able to look at rotation on the ball and so forth. But there's going to be multicolored balls available. You can still use the white one if you want, if your team chooses.
So it's
to.
optional.
It's optional.
Right now it's optional. Yeah, and you could use any color at the moment.
Right.
They're trying to establish a certain color within LA City, but that hasn't gone anywhere yet.
All right, the no contact rule. I know last year we were talking about that, where you could coach your volleyball players, but once the season was over, it was hands off. They had to go do their own thing. That's changed, I understand?
That's changed, and for a lot of coaches that have been, I don't know how to say it without to be proper.
Cheating?
But they're coaching club, I guess what do you call it, under the table, and they weren't letting anybody know about it because there is some money involved in that. But now, that's where Southern Section leagues are. They did away with that rule, I think, a year ago or maybe 2 years ago, but still a lot of coaches were coaching their players year-round. So they have this group of kids that they've been coaching for a long time. They understand the coach's system, and that's why these Southern Section schools that we play are so strong, because that's just been going on. Plus, there's the money around there to pay for it. But as far as no contact rule, I think it's great because now you can create a team and just stay with them for 4 years. And
it was a nightmare to enforce. So if you're the athletics department and you've got to try and check on, who's going to know who's in the gym at what time and so forth? And it was the kind of thing that would roil people quite a bit because they knew that this particular coach was running these practices. Hey, you know what? Open it up. Let people practice if they want to. They can just do it out in the open, and whoever wants to can. No one's forcing you to do it. At least you're not cheating anymore.
Well, coaches were allowed to transport their players to tournaments that were coached, and they were being coached by other coaches. So you see coaches on the sideline texting their coach that's on the court saying, do this, do that, or giving signals to their players or coaching from behind the court. But you still had your official coach on the sideline. So all that, it was hard to supervise and hard to come down on coaches for doing those illegal things. Now it's wide open, but LA Unified still hasn't put out their guidelines. There's guidelines that we're going to have to follow.
One of the rules they use in club, and I want to ask you guys how quickly it could get instituted on the high school scene, is if I go up for a block and I hit the net, then obviously it's a penalty. But if the ball goes to the outside and I go up and block and hit the net, in club you're okay, as long as it doesn't interfere with the play. Will that come in to the high school level in the city section?
Yeah, it should. As Chris was mentioning earlier during the break, the club rules eventually trickle into the high school, and it's a good rule only because if it's an incidental net that doesn't really have a bearing on the play, there's not advantage gained. It's kind of, what's the point of that? It's not really involved in the play. So I see it going there.
I'm going to piggyback that because just on Wednesday night, my setter apparently went up for a block, and he's on the right side. Okay, and the play was on the left side, but when he came down, his jersey scraped the bottom of the net, and he called my setter for it, and I said, it had nothing to do with the play. Why are you calling this? And that's really ticky-tack, and he's like, well, he did it several times, and I was like, did it affect the play? And he's like, well, not really. And why are you calling it?
Well, in club, I think you can touch the bottom of the net.
Correct.
You can hit the bottom of the net. They're just calling top of net.
Right.
And I think in all sports we want more offense. We don't want whistles. We want play.
Right.
Yeah, let them play is what I'm saying,
Well, guys, I expect to see all three of you at the finals. Division II, Verdugo Hills, Will Reinhardt. Chris, you're going to be Division I
don't
final,
know,
right?
but I'm crossing
Forest
my
and
fingers.
Palisades. And in the small schools, we know Elizabeth. Oh, I'm giving away my next hand for the best teams, right? We expect to see you as well at Roy Bowl. Gentlemen, thank you very much for the visit. Great
Our
job.
pleasure. It's always a
Alrighty,
pleasure.
thank you.
All right, let's talk about the best players. It's an interesting list. It's a very good list, and let's go over some of the guys who could be the City Player of the Year. Now, again, there are different divisions, and different players will stand out, and we'll have multiple award winners this year. We have to start with Kenny Izuchukwu, that man with a 43-inch vertical leap that's being heralded by a lot of different schools. And Izuchukwu comes up big. He came up big a couple years ago for Chris Forrest at Palisades, and one would think he has an outstanding chance to be the City Player of the Year. There's Scott Sanderson, that tall mammoth gentleman who performs for the Taft Toreadors. And whenever you think of Taft, they always seem to have some size. Armand Mercado gets guys out there to play, and Sanderson is another good one. Speaking of size, there's Chris Dees at Verdugo Hills. That's Will's kid, the basketball, volleyball player who is also tall and very talented, put up huge numbers in hoops. We would imagine he'll put up some pretty good blocks as well for Will Reinhardt's team. The Dubois brothers, Mike and Chris at El Camino Real. We know they're tall. They're both 6'6". I think Mike averaged about 15 kills a match last year, so one would imagine he'll put up a lot of numbers again this year, and so did Chris. So that tandem, those two brothers, those twins, should do a great job. And then there's Connor Gill, a steady guy, averaged about 3 or 4 kills a game last year at Venice High School for Hunt's team, and we would imagine that Connor Gill will be another all-city performer for the Venice Gondoliers. Those are some of the candidates, and I know there's other schools in the lower divisions that will have players that'll probably be City Player of the Year candidates in their particular category. All right, who are the best teams? We have 3 divisions to go over. We'll start with the small schools. Of course, we have Elias's Elizabeth team, and they're always good. The Bulldogs are always well represented. We know they're well coached, although Elias is waiting for some of his players to come out for volleyball. There's Fauché, who was very strong last year and figures to return and be a dominant force at the Division III level. There's LACS, which is an up-and-coming program that's improving, and Northridge. Those are the 4 schools we see in Division III with an opportunity to win that small schools championship at Roybal on May 22nd. All right, let's move ahead to Division II, and we have a number of schools here, and it really speaks to the competitive nature of D2. Bravo, who is so strong and is very talented with a lot of experience. Eagle Rock, who's done yeoman work already and has a win over Will's Verdugo Hills team. We have L.A. Jordan, and the guys have talked up L.A. Jordan throughout this program. King Drew, with a lot of athletes returning. And remember, they finished 3rd in the Marine League last year, so they were competitive with the big guys. Verdugo Hills with Will's team, and, of course, Westchester. Those are the teams in Division II. As for Division I, the usual suspects, El Camino Real, the Conquistadors. We just talked about the twins, Mike and Chris Dubois, who are outstanding players. Palisades. Let's talk first about Granada Hills. I can't overlook Granada Hills. Granada's so good and so talented under Tom Harp. They're the defending champions, so we've got to have them on the list. Then Palisades, of course. Chris's team, in my mind, is really a favorite this year. Taft, Armand Mercado does a great job every year, year in and year out. And Venice with Alan Hunt, again, with another strong team. So those are all the divisions. A lot to digest. But we do know that in late May, May 22nd at Roybal, it's a terrific day of volleyball for you, for all 3 divisions will be decided. For the entire guys here, and it was a guys panel today, for Will Reinhardt of Verdugo Hills, Chris Force of Pali, and Elias Gomez of Elizabeth, I'm Randy Roosevelt. Thank you, my KLCS crew, and we'll see you down the road. And remember God and support boys volleyball.